what the bond is becoming. The first strike had failed, but it had revealed something far more dangerous. Not weakness, not instability. Potential. The doors were sealed, the chamber quiet. Princess Elaris Vael stood near the center of the room. Still. Focused. Across from her, Kael Ardent leaned slightly against the stone wall, watching her. "You felt that too," he said. It wasn't a question. She nodded. "Yes." "You moved before the attack completed." Kael exhaled. "I didn't think about it. That is why it matters." This was no longer instinct alone, it was synchronization. Elaris stepped closer. "Do it again." Kael raised a brow. "Do what exactly? What you did in the garden?" "You anticipated." He straightened slightly. "That wasn't just me." "No," her voice lowered. "It was us." The bond pulsed, not with hunger, with alignment. Elaris lifted her hand, placing it against his chest again. "Focus." He did. Not on danger, not on threat. On her. Her presence, her control, her awareness, and something else, something new. Her intent, the connection sharpened instantly, clearer than before, faster, stronger. "Now move." She did, not randomly, deliberately. A step, then another. And before she moved, he knew. Not what she would do, that she would move. He shifted, adjusted, met her motion. Perfectly. They stopped, both still, both aware. Elaris's eyes widened, just slightly. "That is new." Kael exhaled. "Yeah, that felt different." They were no longer reacting to each other. They were anticipating, not predicting movement, sharing intent. Elaris stepped back slowly. "This is not how the bond was designed." Kael gave a faint smile. "Seems like we're doing that a lot." She studied him. "This is not simply connection anymore. It is integration." That word settled differently. He nodded slowly. "Meaning?" Her voice lowered. "Meaning we are beginning to operate as one system." Silence, because that was something entirely new. Teal crossed his arms slightly. "That sounds powerful." She didn't smile. "It is. And dangerous." The bond pulsed again. Stronger this time, responsive. "Show me," he said. She tilted her head slightly. "Show you what?" "What it can do." Elaris hesitated, not from fear, from understanding. "If we push it, we may not fully control the outcome." Kael nodded. "Then we don't push it blindly. We test it." That, she understood. She stepped closer again, this time, not cautiously, intentionally. "Focus on me," she said. "I am." "No, only me." He did, blocked everything else. The room, the silence, the world beyond. Only her. The bond ignited, not violently, completely. And for a moment, something impossible happened. The boundary between them blurred, not physically, perceptually. He felt her stance, she felt his balance. He sensed her movement before it formed. She understood his reaction before it began. They moved, together perfectly aligned, not mirrored, unified. Then, it snapped back, both of them stepping away, breathing heavier. Silence filled the chamber. Kael let out a slow breath. "Okay." That was not normal. Elaris didn't respond immediately, because she was still processing it. That level of synchronization, her voice dropped, has never been recorded. Kael looked at her. "So what does that mean?" She met his gaze. "It means the bond is not stabilizing. It is evolving." Elsewhere in the Citadel, others felt it. Not clearly, but enough. A shift, a presence, something growing, beyond control. Riven stood once more in shadow, his gaze lifted slightly, as if sensing it. "They are changing," he said quietly. No one answered, because no one needed to. Elaris exhaled slowly. "They will feel this." Kael nodded. "Good." She raised a brow. "You say that often." He gave a faint smile. "Because I don't think hiding it is an option anymore." The bond pulsed, not hiding, not resisting, becoming. Elaris stepped closer, resting her forehead lightly against his again. Not from need, from alignment. "This changes everything," she whispered. Kael's voice was steady. "Then we change everything." The bond had crossed a threshold. No longer survival, no longer control, it had become something else, a force, not built on dominance but on unity. And in a world defined by control, there is nothing more dangerous than something that cannot be divided. They will call it a threat. Velmora had seen enough. Not everything, but enough. Control had been tested, resistance had been proven, and now something new had emerged. Something the system could not define, and anything that cannot be defined cannot be controlled. The inner council gathered in silence. No ceremony, no debate, only decision. Lord Vareth stood at the center. The others encircled him. Ancient figures bound to tradition. They felt it, one said. Not instability. Expansion. Another voice followed, sharper. That is precisely the concern. A third. If this continues, others will begin to change. Silence. Heavy. Because now they all understood. This was not about one bond. This was about what it would inspire. Vareth finally spoke. It must be classified. The words were deliberate, final. Not as anomaly, as threat. The chamber did not react loudly. It did not need to, because that word changed everything. A threat is not observed. A threat is contained or eliminated. Elaris felt it immediately, not through sight, not through sound, through the bond. A pressure, different from before. Not hunger, not danger, judgment. They've decided, she said. Kael looked up from where he stood. Yeah? Her voice lowered. We are no longer being tested. We are being classified. He exhaled slowly. Let me guess. Her eyes met his. They will call us a threat. Silence. Kael nodded once. Good. She raised a brow slightly. You welcome that? He gave a faint, steady smile. I'd rather know where we stand. The bond pulsed. Not with fear, with clarity. Elaris stepped closer. They will not move recklessly. They'll plan it. Yes. And they will not come at us directly. Kael crossed his arms slightly. Then they'll go after the bond. Her gaze sharpened. Yes. Not through force, through disruption. They will try to overload it, she said, push it beyond stability. Break the balance. Kael nodded slowly. Then we strengthen it. She studied him. You say that as if it is simple. It's not. But it's the only option. The bond responded. Not passively. Actively, as if it understood what was coming. Throughout Velmora, orders moved quietly. Not shouted, not announced, but understood. Watch them, track them, prepare containment. Commander Riven stood at the center of it, not as leader, as execution. They've crossed the threshold, he said. They will not stop. A subordinate stepped forward. Then we proceed. Riven's gaze darkened slightly. Yes. We proceed. Elaris closed her eyes briefly, not to escape, to focus. They are aligning against us, she said. Kael stepped closer. Then we align faster. She opened her eyes, and this time, there was no uncertainty left, only decision. We cannot remain reactive. We must act first, Kael nodded. Finally. A faint breath. I was wondering when we got to that part. The bond flared, not violently, but decisively. Elaris stepped closer, placing her hand against his chest again. Then we begin now. The bond responded, not as connection, as force. Their awareness sharpened, their alignment deepened, their presence expanded. And this time, they did not contain it. They let it rise. Across Velmora, others felt it, clear, undeniable. The bond was no longer hidden, no longer uncertain. It had declared itself. A presence that could not be ignored. A force that would not be controlled. A threat. And in Velmora, there's only one response to a threat. It is confronted, or destroyed. But this time, the threat was ready. The attempt to break the bond. They did not strike with blades. They did not strike with force. They struck with understanding. Because Velmora had studied the bond. And now, it intended to break it. The chamber was ancient, older than the throne, older than the court, carved in black stone, etched with sigils that pulsed faintly, not with light. At its center, a circular platform, empty, waiting. Commander Riven stood at its edge, silent, still. You are certain? A voice asked from the shadows. Riven did not look away from the platform. It is the only way. If the bond is unbalanced, his voice lowered, it will collapse, not by severing it, by overwhelming it. Elaris felt it before it began. A pull, deep, violent, not hunger, not instinct. Intrusion. Her breath caught. Kill. He felt it a second later. The bond twisted, not broken, distorted. What is that? Her voice sharpened. They are forcing the connection. The pull intensified. Not in one direction, in both. Too much, too fast. The bond surged, not controlled, not aligned, flooded. Kael staggered, his breath torn from him. He felt everything, her hunger, her restraint, her past fragments, echoes, pain, centuries of it, crashing into him all at once. Elaris? She dropped to one knee, her hands gripping the floor, because she felt it too. Not just him, everything. His thoughts, his reactions, his fear, no. Not fear, his refusal to break. It overwhelmed her. This is not controlled, she gasped. They are pushing too much. The bond screamed, not physically, but through them. The sigils ignited, not with flame, with pressure. Riven watched. They cannot sustain this, he said quietly. A figure behind him spoke. If they are what you claim, they will break. Kael collapsed to one knee, his hands braced against the floor. This is too much. His voice strained, because now it wasn't just feeling her, it was becoming her. The hunger surged, not his, but now inside him. His breath changed, his focus narrowed, the pull violent, demanding. Stop it, he said through clenched teeth. Elaris shook her head. I can't. Her voice broke. They are forcing the bond open. This was not connection, this was collapse. Kael's vision blurred. The room shifted. For a moment, he wasn't in the chamber. He was inside her memory. Dark corridors, cold silence, endless restraint, centuries of hunger. His breath broke. She felt it, not the memory, his reaction to it, his understanding. And something changed. This is what I carry, she said, not with pride, with truth. Kael forced himself upright, barely. I know. And you're still standing. That mattered, more than the pain, more than the pressure. Because now, he didn't just feel her burden, he chose it. The bond shifted. Not outward, inward. Elaris felt it immediately. What are you doing? Kael's voice steadied, just slightly. Not fighting it, understanding it. The surge hit again, stronger. But this time, he didn't resist blindly. He focused, not on stopping it, on stabilizing it, on her control, her identity, her choice. The bond responded, not collapsing, reforming. Elaris felt it, clear and possible. You are stabilizing it. Kael clenched his jaw, trying to. The pressure surged again, but this time, it met resistance. Not hers alone, both of theirs. The sigils flickered, unstable. Riven's gaze sharpened. They are adapting. That is not possible. The chamber trembled, not from collapse, from resistance. Elaris forced herself upright. Her hand reached for Kael. He caught it. The moment they connected, the bond snapped into alignment. Not perfect, but unified. The surge broke, not destroyed, deflected. Silence, heavy, alive. Kael exhaled sharply. Okay, that was worse than anything so far. Elaris didn't respond immediately, because she was still feeling it. The bond, intact, stronger. They tried to break it, she said quietly. Kael nodded. Yeah. They failed. The bond pulsed, not strained, reinforced. Velmora had struck not with force but with precision. And still, the bond did not collapse, because it was no longer fragile. It had been tested, overloaded, forced beyond its limits, and it had adapted, not by resisting change, but by becoming something stronger than it was before. And now, Velmora understood the truth. This was no longer something that could be broken, only something that could be challenged at a cost.